What's up, fellas? In the first video of the day, we're going to be doing something that I was doing during the year before the trade deadline, but I want to bring it back as we approach the offseason, the playoffs, and all kinds of different stuff. And that's just me going through all the different rumors that I see in a given week about different teams, about free agency, about possible trades, about all that kind of stuff. That's what we're going to be talking about in the first video of the day. As always, if you guys see some rumors, if you guys see something you think I should be aware of, there's a whole bunch of links and social links down in the description below where you guys can send me a whole bunch of different things that potentially could be included in these videos if that's something you guys feel like doing. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every single day on this channel, so it's most consistent NBA content on YouTube. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well, and you can check me out at various socials, as I said, in a Linktree link down in the description below. With those things said, let's talk about the biggest rumors of the week. The first of which is very, very interesting to me. And that is this idea that the Warriors could look to continue their pursuit of Kristaps Porzingis this offseason. And the phrasing of continue is kind of odd to me because I don't remember seeing any rumors about Porzingis possibly being traded to Golden State. But apparently, as I've looked around some rumors this week, the Mavs took multiple phone calls. They looked at multiple trade offers in exchange for Kristaps Porzingis at the deadline this year. And the Golden State Warriors were a team that was potentially involved in those, and then they're going to look to continue that into the offseason. Now, Golden State specifically is an interesting landing spot for Porzingis, assuming that the Mavs just want to kind of get away from the potential injury risk and the cost of Porzingis. But his skill set in Golden State is quite an interesting one, given his ability to shoot, given his ability to space. And then, if they bring back Steph and Clay, and then they've got Draymond, and then they've got, whoever else in the wing, and then KP, that's a very interesting team. Now, in terms of what the trade would be, it would have to involve Andrew Wiggins, just to make the salaries and stuff work. And then, of course, you've got the Wiseman and the Minnesota pick kind of combination there in terms of assets, if that's what Golden State ends up wanting to cash in on. It seems like some of the other guys that would be available potentially in the trade market that they would want to use those assets on would be backcourt players. Bradley Beal comes to mind. And with Steph and presumably a healthy Clay already there, it makes more sense for them to pursue someone like Porzingis or potentially Karl-Anthony Towns at that 5 spot to kind of help them out there in Golden State. So an interesting rumor, one I'm certainly going to keep an eye on as we get closer to the offseason. I think a lot of it depends on how these two seasons end. The Warriors have been in a bit of a tailspin, and then Dallas has been trending up. And if Dallas, makes a run of the second, somehow maybe even the third round of the postseason, I would really, really doubt that they would actually end up moving Kristaps Porzingis in the offseason. But regardless, keep an eye on it because you never know, especially with the play-in game. Maybe Dallas only has one game this year in the postseason, or I guess it would have to be 2 games, depending on how things go in the play-in game if they are the 7 seed, which is how it's looking right now. Next up now, the next rumor is actually some college basketball stuff. We haven't talked a ton about college on this channel, and I'm going to be completely honest, I have not done typical draft preparation to this point, so I'm just going to go off of things that I've seen rather than this actually being my opinion. But the vibe here is that potentially someone like Jalen Suggs could go number 1 overall, even in front of someone like Cade Cunningham. Even though I haven't done a ton of draft preparation, I will as we get closer. I know that Cade Cunningham is the number 1 guy, and it's the guy that is kind of the consensus number 1 pick. Is a guy that has incredible size, great shooting ability, can be a playmaker, can run a team, all those different things. With Suggs' performance in the NCAA tournament, some of the things that he did from like a winning basketball perspective, people really, really like this guy, and that's not to say that he's not talented. You know what I mean? He's good size, good athlete, can score, can shoot, and kind of the combination of what he brings reminds some people of, and this is a comp you're going to hear for the next couple of years, Tyrese Halliburton, and people trying to find the next guy that, yes, is a very good player, but just makes winning plays and really helps you win and is versatile and can fit alongside pretty much anybody that you want to play him with. And people are starting to see Jalen Suggs as like a higher level version of that, and the possibility of him going number 1 overall, according to a handful of GMs in the league, is increasing. Now, at this point, I would be shocked if it's anyone other than Cunningham, just given just the overall talent level of his. And you can talk about intangibles, you can talk about all the stuff that Suggs brings to the table, but ultimately, when we talk about the number 1 overall pick in the draft, especially a draft that looks to be as talented as this one, Cade Cunningham's probably going to go number 1 overall, but still an interesting rumor. Next up, another interesting trade rumor. A Dangelo Russell trade, possibly this offseason, is a rumor that I've seen flying around. So this is a weird one, right? Because there's so many different ways to look at this. You can look at this as, well, if they're trading D'Lo, didn't they get D'Lo to make Karl-Anthony Towns happy? Maybe that relationship isn't great. Maybe it's a precursor to a cat trade. Maybe they're just trying to get assets. I don't know. But if you're just looking at it and you're taking the whole Cat D'Lo friendship out of the equation here and you're just looking at their roster, you could start to convince yourself that D'Lo is a luxury and a very expensive one at that. They've got offensive players. Malik Beasley, Anthony Edwards, who's probably going to win Rookie of the Year, Karl-Anthony Towns, like they can score. The problem is, are they ever going to be able to guard anybody? And if that's the problem, that's not a problem that Dangelo Russell is going to have a hand in solving ultimately. So I don't know how much credence I give this rumor for this offseason, but moving forward, I would not be surprised to see Dangelo Russell not finish out his contract in Minnesota. Now, granted, I don't know what the value of the market would be given his contract, given kind of his reputation around the league in a very oversaturated position that is point guard. There's plenty of guys in the league that can score and create. You know, maybe not exactly on the level as Dangelo Russell, but pretty close to it, that are much, much cheaper. And so I'm not sure that his trade value would really be all that significant, but it's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Next up, we talked about this in a video in the past. There are a lot of, GMs and owners that are kind of pushing for some changes to the way the buyout market works in the NBA. We saw Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge join the Nets. We saw Andre Drummond join the Lakers, and these are not insignificant players. It's not like this is DJ Augustine or Austin Rivers. You know what I mean? These are real players that are joining the buyout market, and it's a concern, for a lot of owners, especially smaller market teams that are looking at this and thinking this is such an advantage for these bigger market teams. Now, the counter to that would be, and someone tweeted this at me the other day, or maybe said it to me in a live stream, is that, Bobby Marks came out with a stat that basically said, more often than not, it's actually the smaller market teams that get buyout players in terms of, the overall number, the quantity, maybe not necessarily the highest quality ones, but it's the smaller market teams that are having success, teams like Milwaukee, that these guys see an opportunity to have a real role on, rather than some of these bigger super teams that they won't actually be able to do as much on. So that's kind of a counter to that. I don't know exactly, what the change could possibly be that would make a real difference when it comes to the buyout stuff, other than it for some reason like costing more, having a bigger salary cap implication. Maybe it has to be a minimum of like $5 million rather than signing them to a minimum, $800,000 deal, whatever the case may be. It's probably going to be related to money in some way if you are going to look at potentially trying to quote unquote fix this. I don't really think it's a problem. I think this is kind of an outlier circumstance this year, whereas in the past, like buyout guys have not been impactful almost ever. When it comes to like who actually ends up winning the title or making the conference finals, that's almost never as big of a deal as we try to make it seem like. So I don't think it's that much of an issue. Maybe you guys do, but there is some rumors going around about them possibly making changes to that system. I'm not against making changes. I don't know if that's something that really they need to be putting a lot of resources or thought into, just given some of the other things that they probably need to be paying attention to about the NBA. I don't think buyout stuff is necessarily at the top of the list for me personally. And then last up goes towards a video that I made a handful of days ago about Kawhi Leonard possibly leaving LA, the possibility of him going to Miami. More rumors coming out that right now, and I made this case in that video anyway, right now it seems like the idea is Kawhi is going to stay in LA, which I put it right now at about a 20% chance that he would leave in the first place and go to Miami. My case was, and this kind of counters that rumor, is if the Clippers lose in the first round. You know what I mean? Like, let's say it's the 3-6 matchup and they get the Lakers in the first round and they lose, and then Kawhi's looking around like, what are we doing? This franchise is cursed. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't care that it's in LA. I can live in LA outside of the season. I need to go to a team that I'm actually going to win basketball games and advance in the postseason. It's a realistic possibility that they play the Lakers in the first round and lose. Or even if you want to get crazy, they go to the 2 seed and they lose to the Mavs, or Portland or Dallas is the 6 seed and they're the 3 and then they lose. Like there's a possibility here. And as we talked about in a video the other day, one of the Jazz, Suns, Lakers, Clippers, and Nuggets, one of those teams is going to lose in the first round. It's just how it is. So ultimately, if that's the scenario, that is where I could potentially see Kawhi saying, not so much I don't want to live in LA or I have an issue, with my teammates, but more so just like this Clippers franchise is cursed. It's never going to happen. I want to leave. I want to go somewhere else. I want to go to a franchise that has a history of success, aka the Miami Heat. And if that happens, I'm standing by this idea that if it goes poorly in the postseason, and the possibility exists that it does, it's about a 50-50 shot that Kawhi ends up leaving. I'm just saying. Okay, that's still where I'm at. I know these rumors are saying it's pretty likely he's going to stay. Until he signed an extension, I'm leaving the possibility open that a first-round playoff collapse by the LA Clippers causes a 50-50 split between him potentially staying or going to Miami. And I'm sticking by that, but it is interesting that this kind of rumor is flying around. Yeah, that's the kind of rumors of the week. We've got the KP Mavs trade. We've got Suggs potentially going number 1. We got D'Lo trade potentially this offseason. Don't really know about that one. Potential buyout changes, and then Kawhi likely staying with the LA Clippers. As I said, if you guys see some rumors, you guys see something you want me to talk about in a video regardless, there's tons of different socials in the link tree down there if you guys want to send those to me. If you just want to hang out with me outside of these videos, all kinds of different stuff, plenty of opportunities for that down in the description below, as I said. But yeah, with all those things said, if you guys missed any of my previous videos, be sure to check out the boxes on screen. I hope you enjoyed enjoyed this video. If you did, you can leave a like rating on it. And yeah, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.